Hey everyone, my name is Ruthvik and today I'll be talking about a vulnerability present in MariaDB 10.2, which is an OS command execution. So what is MariaDB? MariaDB server is one of the most popular open source relational databases. It's made by the original developers of MySQL and was guaranteed to stay open source. It's a part of most cloud offerings and the default in most Linux distributions, which includes Ubuntu, Kali, and Debian, and that's one of the main reasons which makes this vulnerability more devastating. What is WSWeb? WSWeb stands for Wide Set Replication. Is a generic pluggable replication API for DBMS-like applications. It aims to provide minimally yet complete and versatile interface that would satisfy most, if not all, replication use cases. So the description of the exploit. There was a vulnerability in MariaDB where system variables such as WSWeb provider and WSWeb notify command can be modified at runtime by a database user with super privileges. The first variable takes a path of a shared object library that the server will try to DLopen. DLopen is a function in Linux kernel which loads dynamic shared objects, and the second takes a path to the shell script the server will try to execute. Having them available allows a database user with super privileges to execute arbitrary code as a system MySQL user. Coming to the details of the exploit, this exploit was assigned a CVE ID, which is CVE 2021-27928. The CVE score is 7.2, which is high. It's reported on March 18, 2021, and it was fixed by MariaDB team immediately after the report. The affected versions are 10.2, 10.3, 10.4, and 10.5. A small proof of concept for this exploit, we can use MSF Venom to create a reverse shell payload. Say for example, we're targeting a Linux machine, which is a 64-bit Linux machine. So the tag P stands for the reverse shell which we plan to use. And the L host is the listener host, which would be our own IP address. L port is the port we want to listen on. Let's say for example 8888. Minus F says the format of the reverse shell payload which we want. Since it's a Linux machine and a shared object, it would be ELFSO. And the tag O just says the file name which we want to save the reverse shell payload in. And then we can copy the payload to the targeted machine. We can either use SCP or FTP, or we can even transfer it over the web. Once we have the shared object on the target machine, we can start a listener on a host machine using netcat nc tag LVP, L for listener mode, V for verbosity, and P for port on 8888. So once we have our listener ready, all we have to do is execute the payload remotely. And while executing the MySQL payload remotely, we have to run this query called set global WREST provider, which would point to our shared object. And once that is run, our netcat listener should catch a reverse shell with which we should be able to run OS commands remotely. And these are my references. The fix for this vulnerability is the MariaDB dev team found out that there's little or no practical use for having these variables being modified at runtime. It's only ever used in test cases. That's making them read-only would be an easy and safe fix for the above issue at the cost of slightly more complex test scripts, but that's the fix they implemented. Thank you.